Perfect. Thank you so much, Jim. All right, so thank you to everyone for being here. As I mentioned, I'm hoping a few more people trickle in. Many of us teach and have other things going on. This forum is for candidates for the Board of Regents to the Nevada System of Higher Education, being hosted by us, the Nevada Faculty Alliance. I am the Vice President of the NFA, and I'm faculty at Nevada State University. So I will begin by reading something that we read at all of our events to make sure that they are about equity and equality. So the Nevada Faculty Alliance is committed to providing an environment free from discrimination and harassment. We ask all participants here today to embrace our values of equity and equality and conduct themselves in a manner consistent with those values during today's discussion. At every NFA event, there is a designee as the first point of contact for anyone who thinks they have experienced discriminatory, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior. We urge you to contact the designee if you have any concerns. Today's designee is Jim New, and his email is jim.new@nevadafacultyalliance.org if you happen to want to mention anything from today. Okay, so today we have two candidates for Regent District 4, which is here in Southern Nevada, not too far from where I live, but it is a different district. So we have Bautista and Tonia Holmes-Sutton. Thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, other candidates from this district either didn't respond to our requests yet or couldn't make this time. So we may have to have more forums to allow them to participate as well. So we have 8 questions as well as time for opening and closing statements from each candidate. We ask that each candidate take no more than 2 minutes per answer. I will be watching the clock, so if you see me sort of start to wave, that means that your time is ending, and then I will let you know if we do need to move on. If time allows, we will take questions from the audience. For those of you in the audience, you will need to submit those questions in the chat, preferably to myself or to Jim or Kent so that we can ask those questions for you. All right, so we'll also go back and forth on who gets to answer the question first. And I will be asking questions alongside Jim New, our president, and Kent Irvin, who is our past president. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to have you here, Aaron and Tonia. I really appreciate you attending. So for your opening statement in 2 minutes, could you please tell us about your experience and background that qualify you to serve on the Board of Regents, especially your experience in higher education, and what makes you the most qualified candidate? And first we'll have Tonia Holmes-Sutton.
Thank you so much for having me again. My name is Tonia Holmes-Sutton. I'm a National Board Certified Teacher, supporting teachers in leadership and advocacy, not only here in Nevada, but across the country. I specifically am interested in serving as a board regent, given my experience and hoping to bring that to the space. I have formally served on the State Board of Education as a governor-appointed member. I have served on several committees, also working with the Department of Education, and I am currently serving on the Board of Directors for National Board for Professional Teaching Standards out of Washington, D.C., as well as the West Ed Board of Directors out of San Francisco, and I am presently the chair for the Charter School Authority Board. I have also served on the National Teachers Hall of Fame Board of Trustees, and in those capacities, probably served on a dozen or more committees, including the executive committee for those boards. I'm specifically committed to, again, leveraging my experience, my leadership experience in those board spaces, but also as a state and national leader. I also acknowledge that I am currently teaching at Nevada State College and supporting teachers through alternative route to licensure as early career teachers, specifically a multicultural and diversity class. In doing so, looking at what are the diverse dynamics and capacities that I can engage in terms of my advocacy regarding equity, access, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, and believe that I can bring those experiences in which I am learning specifically to the Board of Regents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Aaron Bautista.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Aaron Bautista, and I'm running because I'm a special education teacher right now, and I want to fight for my students. Being in East Las Vegas, a lot of students don't even have college on their mind. It's not on the radar, but I want to help provide that equity and accessibility for them. I want to fight for them. I want to fight for their families. I want to fight for my community. As a special education teacher, well, I was actually the lead special ed teacher, and I was an acting facilitator also at my school. So I was always kind of like the liaison between the teachers and the administration. And advocating for teachers is another thing that I'm very passionate about. So whenever a teacher would have an issue in the classroom or in school in general, I'd always be the one to go to the principal and say, hey, here's a problem. Let's find a way to solve this problem. When teachers aren't satisfied and they come to me, it's kind of like my duty, I'd say, to figure out how we could improve the school, how we could fight for you, and how we could still not become enemies with the administration or anything like that, because at the same time, they have their job that they need to do. So one of the things that I have done in my experience was I've actually tried to unionize one of my schools. I was unable to end up getting enough registration cards from Teamsters Local 14 signed, but that's okay, because at the same time, I'm still advocating and I'm still meeting with administration to improve the conditions for teachers. More experience that I have is I am on a few boards for the city of Las Vegas. I'm on the East Las Vegas Advisory Board, the Neighborhood Partners Board, because at the same time, the community is what's important to me. These students, the families, and I want to fight for them, and I want to fight for the teachers and improve our community overall.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you. And Aaron, we will go to you first on the next question. And we'd like you to explain what you believe the role of higher education is in Nevada and how this informs your priorities for NSHE and the Board of Regents.
Well, for me, the job of higher education in Nevada is to educate, because we want our state to be better in education. Our students are the future of our state. I believe so. So the better job that we're doing with our students, the better our state's going to be. And the better we do with our students, the better their futures are going to be. So for me, higher education, it's not just about the students, but it's also about fighting for our state, improving our economy, providing a better outlook for our future, and helping them live. And that's what I think the role is.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Holmes-Sutton.
Thank you for the question. I'll acknowledge that education has played a significant role in my life personally, in the lives of my families. And as educators, we have been committed to education, certainly pre-K through 12, but also higher education as well. My family is home base in Memphis, Tennessee. Our leadership dates back to the 1800s. We are one of the Rosenwald schools, and we provided education to the Black community specifically with regards to K-8 education. But when I think of higher education and the difference that it has made, not only for me and for my family, but for our community, I think about the role that it plays in ensuring that we are an informed and innovative society, that we have a responsibility to ensure that higher education is accessible to all those who wish to engage and pursue, in maintaining a competitive edge, specifically within the broader community, nationally and internationally. When I think about the investment in our universities, our colleges, and our research institutions, I think about the importance of ensuring that we can foster economic growth and that we're providing an opportunity for our learners and for our workforce to be equipped with advanced skills and knowledge that allows them to pursue a quality of life to which they deserve. I beg your pardon. I appreciate you very much for the question.
All right, this next question, I have a little bit of background first, and then I'll ask the question. So in the last legislative session, the legislature approved really historic COLAs for state employees. State employees, including NSHE professionals, have been behind in compensation for a long time. But while the state funded the cost of living adjustment increases for most state agencies at 80%, it only funded NSHE employees at 64%. And that put NSHE institution at a disadvantage and required us to make internal budget adjustments to cover the difference. So in what practical ways can NSHE or the regents convince the legislature and governor to make higher education a higher priority? And this goes to Holmes-Sutton first.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I think back to when I was pursuing my doctoral degree, and we were provided notice that they were closing all of the programming at the college at that time, and how devastating it was and the impact that it had not only on us as students, but on our families. I think we have a significant role that we can play as advocates, connected to legislators and those in the community advocating for specifically the monies and funding that is needed, and articulating very specifically the impact that it has when it is not equitably funded. I believe that in connecting with and utilizing the relationships that I currently have with legislators and collaborating with the Board of Regents members to be able to continue to build and cultivate those relationships, we can have an impact in delivering the, the message that we too need to be treated equitably. I want to also acknowledge, right, that the challenges will continue to persist, but I believe that in collaborating and working together, we can address them. I think also about the monies that were provided for traditional public school teachers and the raises that they were afforded to have, but that our charter school colleagues were not permitted. I think that we have a responsibility to engage in a collective and united way to advocate to ensure that there's equity across the board for all of those that are serving our state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aaron Bautista.
Yeah, so we need to fund education. That's the bottom line. At the end of the day, we need collective bargaining. We need to make sure teachers are getting paid. There shouldn't be a disadvantage for teachers. They need to get paid equitably. One thing that we could do is collaborate. You know, just like Dr. Sutton Holmes said, I also have a relationship with a lot of the state legislators, state legislative members, and we could figure out solutions on how to ensure that there's an equitable pay structure here. Because if everyone else is getting 80%, why are the teachers only getting 67% when education is so important to the future of our state and to our students? It's something that I'm passionate about fighting for. And with that low pay rate, or the low pay, that kind of harms teachers. That harms people from wanting to become teachers. You know, I'm gonna relate this back to where I'm teaching right now. Well, you know, in CCSD, a lot of teachers are leaving the job because of pay. And we don't want that same thing to happen when it comes to higher education. You know, this goes back to balancing the budget and seeing where we could improve our funding for teachers. If there is extra money in one location that's not being spent, well, why can't that go towards teachers? Because at the end of the day, there needs to be an equitable pay structure. And that's why I do believe in collective bargaining and being part of the union, because as a collective, when everyone's together, the voices are louder and it becomes more powerful.
Thank you. Chantel, if I could follow up, and I don't know if you have a time limit, but this should be quick, I hope, 30 seconds or less each. So you both mentioned personal relationships with legislators, and that's great. I'm wondering if you know, when you're elected as a member of the Board of Regents, you believe individual regents should be at the legislature, or versus the role of giving direction to the chancellor presidents to represent NSHE at the legislature? And Tonia first.
I appreciate you. I think that we have a responsibility to lean in and to engage in a collaborative way. And if it is that we cannot be there physically, because I definitely acknowledge the challenges financially and traveling back and forth, having and wanting to be there in Carson City myself, that there are other ways that we can connect and lean in. I think that in supporting the chancellor, we should be physically present, whether that's virtual and or in person.
Okay, and Aaron?
Thanks for the question. I do think that it is important to be in contact with the chancellor. My phone number is everywhere. If you need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me. But when it comes to the state legislature, I'm there to advocate for the teachers, for the workers. So if I need to be there to make sure that they're passing laws that are going to benefit us, to benefit the teachers, I'm going to make sure that those benefits are happening. So I could be there, but I'll also be in contact with the chancellor. I could be his liaison, and like whatever he's telling me, I'm telling them, because we need to make sure we're fighting for the teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that brings it back to me. And this is very related to the last question, and collective bargaining has already been brought up, but we'll give a little bit more context one more time. So last year in 2023, as Kent alluded to, the Board of Regents approved a 12% and then 11% COLA, or cost of living adjustment, for NSHE faculty for this year and then next year. However, even though those sound like big percentages, this was after years of cost of living adjustments well below those of state employees in collective bargaining units, making it difficult to recruit and retain high quality faculty. So that seems to be an invitation to move to collective bargaining for all faculty at the state level. If you could talk about your view of the value of collective bargaining to the Nevada system of higher education, and we'll start with Aaron first.
Okay, so yeah, collective bargaining, like I was saying already, I absolutely support it. I support it when it comes to all workers, really, because at the same time, the more people together, the more voices heard, the more powerful it is, the more we can make things happen. And that's the same for pay. This past summer, actually, at my school, there was that law going through about giving public education teachers raises, but it didn't apply to the public charters. So we were all there trying to make it happen. We didn't get enough people there, but they heard us though. And that's something that they're taking into consideration. But now when it comes to the universities, and faculty and administrations, all of them put together, there's a lot more of them than there are us. And the voices are a lot more powerful because when it comes to public charter, we're kind of not as big, I'd say, as the universities. So I think that kind of goes back to collective bargaining. The more people involved, the more power there is. And with the NFA, there's the other one also, with the other workers, I can't remember what it's called right now at the moment. But especially with collaboration with them two, I think we can make pay happen.
Great, thank you. Tonia.
Thank you. I too would agree that collective bargaining should be available for the NSHE employees. That fact that in order to address issues of equity, that may be the route that needs to be pursued, given the challenges in securing funding for the teachers and, the professors and staff at the universities and colleges, and being able to recruit and retain quality teachers for our students, for our community. We have a responsibility to advocate for that and to ensure that we work together to do so, allowing collective bargaining to be an option that we pursue.
So I'll ask a quick follow-up and we'll go in the same order. So our colleagues over at the College of Southern Nevada have a collective bargaining unit. It took over 3 years to reach their initial contract. So we were wondering if, as a way of moving the parties to a conclusion, you would support binding arbitration upon impasse. And I'll start with Aaron again.
Right, so this kind of actually reminds me of what happened with what I was just speaking of with the public schools getting the raises. So they have the CCEA doing collective bargaining for them, but on the state public charter level, we didn't have collective bargaining. So that was kind of an issue. So it almost could have benefited us if we were under their collective agreement, if we were binded with them, because that would have improved the lives of many of the public charter teachers as well. So I think it could be good to bind those contracts, because at the same time, CSN has it, so they're being protected. They have that collective bargaining, those voices. But why don't we have that at the university level? The terms don't exactly have to be the same because the circumstances are different, the populations are different, but at the same time, there could be bits and pieces taken from that into creating a collective bargaining for the faculty and teachers at the university level.
Tonia.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I do believe that there should be a consideration for binding arbitration when you are not able to come to a resolution that has significant impact, acknowledging that the time noted to be able to reach a contract or be agreeable to a contract has significant impact, not only on the professors, the staff at the universities and colleges, but also on the students, and possibly having those professors and or staff leave the universities and or the state itself. So I do believe that should be an option.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I have the next question. This will go to Tonia first. And the question is, most candidates have told us that the Regents should hire good chancellors and good presidents. And by the way, we have never endorsed a candidate who has told us they don't want to hire good chancellors and presidents. But at any rate, they tell us that the Regents should let them run the institutions without micromanaging from the board. But the Board of Regents tends to only get their reports and their information filtered through the offices of the presidents and the chancellor. And so there's little, if any, independent validation. As a regent, how will you monitor how the chancellor and the presidents are performing their jobs?
Thank you for the question. I do believe that you said I was going first as I was attending, so I appreciate you. Acknowledging the importance and certainly the challenges of identifying, recruiting, and retaining a leader. I think that there's a responsibility beyond that individual to reach out into the community. Serving in spaces where we are supporting CEOs of significant organizations, we have an opportunity to engage with staff, whether that be through focus groups, interviews, surveys. We're ensuring that we hear their voices and that they have an opportunity to be able to speak to what is happening at the organization, the agency itself. I think that likewise, there could be an opportunity here to ensure that that information, to your point, is not coming only through the chancellor's office or the president's office, but that we are reaching out and ensuring that we are listening to and creating opportunities for voices that are of the individuals that are in those respective communities to be heard and to utilize that information from those individuals to inform the decisions that we make. Again, I noted micromanaging is certainly not the way to go, and yet there is not any one singular way that we should be receiving information regarding those that we entrust to lead either. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Aaron?
So communication and collaboration. I think those are two really important things when it comes to running a university. With the chancellor and all the other stakeholders, everyone should be collaborating and communicating with each other. That way, everyone is always on the same page with each other. We always know what needs to be done to get to the next step. When it comes to hiring a new chancellor, I know there was that search going on a while back ago, but it kind of seemed like not everybody there was on the same page in what they wanted to look for. So if you're collaborating with each other, there's a constant flow of communication, then that kind of solves a lot of the issues on what we're looking for, what we need, because now we could zero in on our target. We could get what we want, and it's not going to waste that extra time. It's not going to cost that extra money because we're collaborating and communication. We don't need anybody to micromanage anybody because, again, when it comes to that communication and collaboration, everybody knows their roles. Everybody knows what they need to be doing. And when that's all running smooth, that solves the issue of micromanaging and gets the people in place who need to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have the next question. This will be Aaron's first. The NSHE code affirms the importance of academic freedom and tenure. could you explain your understanding of academic freedom and tenure in higher education? What is the value of academic freedom and tenure for a system of higher education? Aaron?
Thank you for the question. That's a good one. Academic freedom, that's a big thing that's been coming up in the news a lot. And I believe in it. Because history is history. What has happened, happened. We shouldn't be cutting things off saying, oh no, we can't teach that because it might sway someone to think this way. I know in Florida, there's been those issues with them getting rid of the Board of Regents. So that way they could kind of take control and say, hey, we're not going to be teaching critical race theory anymore. And that kind of goes against the academic freedoms that I think students should have when it comes to the colleges, because at the same time, students get to pick what classes they want to go to. So why are we limiting what can and can't be taught? That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So when it comes to academic freedom, that's something that we need to stand up for. That's something that we need to fight for, because we need to be on the right side of history. If we're hiding history, then history can repeat itself, I think. And that's why it's really important to not limit academic freedom.
Thank you. Tonia?
Thank you. I appreciate you. I will acknowledge also the importance of academic freedoms as well as tenure. As we talk about the importance of education, it's important that we safeguard education, that we are not censoring what is taught, what is learned, knowing that professors have the liberties to be able to inform the research that they bring into the classroom, the leadership that they bring into the classroom with regards to teaching and learning. I believe that those academic freedoms should be protected. Likewise, with tenure, I think it's important not only for the professors themselves, but also for the students, that there will be a commitment to a learning and research and a telling of truth that aren't impacted by, if you will, forgive my lack of articulation, the fear of being reprimanded and or having there be consequences for your leadership inside of the classroom and within the college and university communities. So that tenure is just as important as the academic freedoms that we speak about, to ensure that students are benefiting from it as well as our communities, both within the respective contexts of our universities and colleges, but also our broader community within the state as well.
Okay, thank you. And if I could follow up, so a related concept to, or related to academic freedom, is the concept of shared governance, that faculty have a role in determining how the institution is run, and so forth. But what would you say are the primary areas of responsibility that the faculty have in shared governance of the institutions as opposed to the administration? Aaron?
The responsibility that they have is to make sure that they are educating and informing, and they're educating correctly. Because at the same time, we can't have them say one thing, but it doesn't agree with the institution or anything like that. Well, not the institution, but the other way. Because, hold on, I lost my thought. Sorry. What was the question again? I'm sorry. Hello?
Sorry, what are the primary responsibilities of the faculty in shared governance?
Okay. The responsibility is to educate, and to educate so that way they're still meeting the way that they're supposed to be teaching and what's on the curriculum, because educating is important, so we need that academic freedom, but it has to be taught in the correct way. Sorry about that.
And Tonia, same question.
Thank you. When I think about shared governance and the role that faculty can play in that, I specifically think about the design, the identification, the design, the development of programming that takes place in the respective colleges at the universities and on the campuses, as well as informing leadership, the decisions that are made within the specific departments and colleges as well. I don't believe that it is exclusive to the teaching and learning that takes place in the classrooms. but utilizing the expertise and the experience, acknowledging that they are vast, dynamic, and diverse to be able to inform a most efficient, so sorry, I was going to the chat, most efficient and thriving community within the colleges and universities. And again, within the broader community itself, acknowledging that those colleges and universities serve as very central hubs to our community.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about the chat. It's like trying to do multiple things at once. And we want to make sure that if anyone has a question they would like to ask at sort of near the end, if you could just message those to me, and then we will ask them of both candidates. So I have the next question. So faculty of color were seemingly the targets of the awful violence that erupted at UNLV in December. Whether it was due to a racist motivation or not, I can guarantee you that NSHE faculty of color were rattled. How do you propose to keep all faculty safe in an environment where there are lists of faculty kept by extremist hate groups, and faculty realize that they may be harassed when teaching on topics that are considered controversial? So this goes to Tonia first.
I appreciate you, and I acknowledge being emotional. My daughter was leaving the campus as things took place that day, so I apologize. Acknowledging that as I think about our responsibility as leaders to work together collaboratively and collectively, we have a responsibility to be proactive. There are significant challenges that present themselves in ensuring safety in our campuses and in our classrooms in the universities and colleges, that there is much that could be learned from us collaborating with others in the community. When I had this conversation with my daughter and we talked about the importance of safety and what we could and should be doing, I immediately thought again of relationships and connections. I reached out to a former deputy chief of the police and talked about how they make the decisions that they make to be able to keep our community safe, how they make those decisions and how they plan, particularly when we have a significant number of people who are coming into the community at any given time. And so I think that there is much to be learned and that we could enter into a partnership, a collaboration with those who have been tasked and trusted with keeping our community safe to be able to address the challenges that persist regarding safety, specifically gun safety. And violence on our campuses. I definitely appreciate the overwhelming feelings that faculty of color were experiencing, and everyone truly, and then acknowledge that as we think about collaborating with others and being proactive, that there are things that we can do at the campus itself. That while there are measures in place, we can be evaluating, reassessing, reviewing those, and seeing how can we ensure that we address the issues that persist with ensuring that the community is informed, that there are opportunities for patrols on the campus, that and again, for a lack of articulation, right? If there is anything that is suspected whatsoever, that people would speak up. I acknowledge that before that took place, my daughter noted that someone had shot out the window of the office that they were in, probably about a week prior to what happened. So whether it was related or unrelated, right? That we have to ensure that we're addressing all of the issues that take place. And again, collaborating and connecting with those who have expertise and experience in addressing issues of gun safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Erin.
So that was a really good question. And that's one that kind of hit close to home with me, because a lot of my fellow teachers, a lot of my friends that I'm friends with actually were on campus that day and in the student union, not too far from the building where the tragedy happened at. A lot of the students I talked to, a lot of my friends, they're still somewhat shaken up and scared about what happened. And a lot of them are students of color. So I know UNLV is an open campus because it is a public institution. So, we can't lock it down. But what I think we can do is, use take more advantage of the proximity cards, the key fobs, or maybe even have a check-in system in buildings, so that way we know who's going into the buildings when they're going in there and why they're going there, what business do they have in the building. I think that would keep students safe, it would keep faculty safe, and that would give them the peace of mind that they kind of need right now, because some of them are still shaken up, like I was saying. I know there is increased security there, but I read it was temporary, but I think that's something that we should look into making more permanent, especially with it being an open campus and the area and the economy kind of changing. I know some students just feel the area isn't a safe area. Okay, well, how could we fix that? And that could be having more security, because people are going to be coming onto the campus. And how could we ensure that the students are safe, that faculty are safe? So I think increased security, more use of the proximity key fobs, and maybe the check-in check-out system when it comes to certain buildings that are high traffic, or that might have more teachers who are people of color, just to give them that peace of mind, to let them know that they are safe and they are being taken care of. And then again, we could also collaborate with community partners and see what they have, what ideas they could give to us. And then we could always improve from there, because safety is something that's always going to be a concern. It's always going to be changing. Situations are always going to be changing. So that's something that we're constantly going to have to improve upon and study to see how we could constantly evolve and change to keep our students and faculty safe.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do notice that we have Erin going first on this next question. The majority of NSHE students come from first generation and historically minority backgrounds. What initiatives and supports do you think are crucial to help with the recruitment and the retention of these students?
Thank you for the question. That's something that also kind of hits close to home, because, being in Las Vegas, I did grow up in a lower income area. We didn't have money to go to college. College wasn't on my radar at all. We need more accessibility, affordability. When it comes to students in high schools, especially in my area, because I actually still talk to a lot of the students who are in high school in East Las Vegas and their families, because being over here at Matter, a lot of the students are still going to the area schools here. And what I've kind of found was a lot of them don't know exactly how to sign up for college. They don't know how to navigate the system. They want to make it easier. That's what some parents have told me. Like, yeah, we want to, but we don't know how to get this done. Want to sign a student up for us? And I'm like, well, I can't really do that, but let's find a way to work together to make it easier for your student to get into college. Let's find a way to make it more affordable, because that's the next issue that I found, is they don't want to take out student loans because they think it's not worth it. They don't see the value in a college degree. But then I kind of show them, like, hey, well, here I am. I'm from the same community as you, but I am a teacher. I'm making it right now because I did go to college. And when you do go to college, you have that opportunity for a better life that our parents are fighting for, because we are new to this country here and they're here for the better lives. So that college access right there will kind of be like, oh, wow, okay, so I could get that better life that my parents wanted. That's why we're here. So we need more recruitment fairs in high schools in the lower income areas where it's underserved. We need to show them the benefits. And if anything, if we have these recruiting things going on at high school, the student can sleep class for a few minutes to go to a recruitment seminar. I remember when I was in high school at El Dorado High School, I remember hearing about these recruitment things, but I didn't know what the benefit was until a friend was like, hey, if you sign up for this, you get to get out of class for 30 minutes and you get a free shirt from CSN. And I was like, oh, I get out of class and a shirt? Sign me up. And from then on, it was like, maybe college might not be so bad, but I still don't want to pay for it. At that same time, right when we graduated high school, like I said, I didn't have plans to go to college. That same friend picked me up and was like, hey, we're going to go to the movie. And I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. He drove me to CSN because at that time, there was a program going on where you got your first class for free. And I was like, why are we here? He's like, you're signing up for college. Let's go to class for free. Just do it, see if you like it. And I was like, okay, fine. I ended up getting another class also because I was already there. I ended up dropping out after the second quarter. But there was always something inside of me that said, hey, you need to go back and finish what you started, because this really could give you that better life that your parents are fighting for. And I want my students to have that chance. I want students of East Las Vegas Regent or District 4 to have that chance, because we are an underserved area. And I think if they could get that taste of college to see if it's for them or not, to see if it's worth those student loans, then I think that could get them going to college, and that'll get their minds in the place where it's like, college is great. We need this. And then we need to support them as they're going through it, because that'll help retain them as well. Because a lot of students they drop out fast, but let's keep in contact with them more. You know, I came back. It took me a long time to get my degrees, but I still kept coming back. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Tonia?
Thank you. I also appreciate your grace in allowing me to go off screen for a few moments. When I think about the students, particularly those that are first generation college students, I think about mentorship. Had the opportunity to mentor probably about 30 first generation college students through the Nevada Promise Scholarship Program. And in connecting with them, and certainly also my daughter and her colleagues and classmates, I think about the resources that are necessary. I think that we think much in the way that teachers are expected to come full to a classroom, that students who are in college or at the university are also full. And the fact of the matter is there are a lot of challenges they are experiencing with regards to housing insecurity, food insecurity, mental health and well-being, being able to have access to supports. I believe that mentorship should be put in place, and that we should assess the resources that we are making available to first generation college students. And I think that we should ask them what they need. I think we make a lot of assumptions, and we talk about some of the typical challenges that students have, but we need to ask them what would be helpful in supporting them in persisting through college. Certainly financial support and accessibility are critical, and yet when students get there, they're not always supported. Acknowledging not only the resources that I've mentioned, but also the social emotional. It's difficult being the first. We applaud it and we rally around the significance of it, but many have challenges in returning home and being supported by their friends and their family and their community, particularly if they are the only one who has been able to step forward and pursue college, a college degree career. So those that I mentioned specifically around mentorship, around housing security, around food security, around mental health and well-being, and also surveying and finding out what is it that the students themselves can articulate that they need.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I have the final question before the closing statements. And as you know, question 1 will be on the ballot in November, which would remove the Board of Regents from the Nevada Constitution. The odds are it will be approved by voters. NFA does not at this time have a position on question 1. But the question is, if there were no constitutional or statutory limitations, what changes to NC governance or structure would you support and why? And this goes to Tonia first.
I appreciate you. If there were no constitutional support around the Board of Regents, I specifically believe that engagement with the Department of Education and the State Board of Education, as well as collaboration with the Charter School Authority Board, would allow an opportunity for us to ensure that we continue advocating for and overseeing the policies for the colleges and the universities. I think at a time that there is incredible uncertainty and so many challenges that college and university communities are facing, that it is critical that the Board of Regents exist. I acknowledged just yesterday sitting before the Sunset Committee and hearing Senator Daley speak about the possibility of removing or sunsetting the Charter School Authority Board. it serves a significant role, and we have to ensure that we advocate and engage others in recognizing the significance and attending to the challenges that are persisting specifically for colleges and universities and our research institutions.
Okay, thank you. And Aaron, same question.
Thank you for the question. When it comes to removing the Board of Regents, that's something that I don't think should happen, because at the end of the day, there's kind of an accountability that needs to take place. And when it comes to the regents, the chancellors, the Department of Education, the legislature, that all kind of works like a checks and balances in a way. You know, with that collaboration and communication, again, it kind of goes hand in hand with each other. So removing the Board of Regents, you're kind of leaving a college or a university to kind of fend for itself here. And there's not going to be that sense of accountability, because now we have one governing body kind of missing and leaving the universities on their own in a way. So that checks and balances is off. You know, you could have like the legislature or another department kind of come in and micromanage in a way. And that's something that we also don't want. One thing that, another concern of that is the whole academic freedom thing. I know there's the concerns of the Board of Regents kind of limiting academic freedoms. And that's another reason why we need all of those other groups working together. Because if that Board of Regents isn't there, now who's to say one other group might change their position and want, you know, this going on over here, that shouldn't be going on when it comes to academic freedom, because it all kind of works in a roundabout way that kind of makes sense. So getting rid of the Board of Regents kind of just throws everything off. And that's why I think we should not get rid of it. And everyone should communicate and collaborate, because at the end of the day, the thing that comes first is our students. We need to make sure that they're getting educated. We need to make sure our staff and faculty is being taken care of properly. And that way we have a better future for all of us.
All right. Well, if I could follow up over the, and this is about the structure of the Nevada system of higher education. Over the past few legislative sessions, there have been proposals to either separate the community colleges from NSHE or have separate boards of trustees for each college and university. What's your position about that kind of restructuring, Tonia?
I feel strongly that there needs to be what is in existence, the Board of Regents overseeing the colleges and the universities, acknowledging that there could be advisory committees that could be put in place at the colleges and universities that could help address some of the questions that you presented previously around that singular communication through the chancellor or the president's office. I acknowledge that things become more challenging with separate boards and overseeing, but I think that advisory committees could be put in place if such a pursuit was realized. I hope that I've articulated
Okay, thank you.
in a manner that was understood.
Yeah, thank you. And Aaron, about the splitting up the system, community colleges.
So CSN at the end of the day is higher education. That's kind of where I got my start in college. It took me 7 years to get my 2-year degree, but at the end of the day, it's still higher education. And a lot of the stuff that you learn in CSN, you kind of need to get your 4-year degree, because that's your first 2 years right there. So if it's kind of split off, then you might not be getting what you need when you want to move up to UNLV or to another institution, because it's a whole separate thing now. Now, I agree with what Dr. Holmes-Sutton was saying. If we had some kind of committees, some kind of public oversight, that could help streamline things like in the CSN area, and might make it it might make for an easier transition for students or for faculty wanting to move because, you know, they're continuing with their education or something like that. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question from the audience. If we can go ahead and add that. So as in most interviews, we're often asked about our strengths and then of course our weaknesses. And so I'm wondering if you have an idea of, even though you have experiences either within the NSHE system or with close people who have been in the NG system or mentoring people in the NG system, if there are some opportunities for you to learn more that you already know you would want to take advantage of in order to have a broader or more complete picture of the whole system if you were to be elected to the Board of Regents. And I'll start with Erin first.
Thank you. So my strengths are that I am very adaptable and I learn fast. You know, going off my experiences, it's like, okay, I've been in this situation before, so how does this situation differ that much from here? So I'm able to gain from past experiences and you apply those to new situations. Now, when it comes to my weaknesses, you know, a lot of it is going to be the terminology and talking slower, correctly, using the longer words that Dr. Holmes-Sutton is using. I'm like, oh, that's a good long word. I should use that more. Because, you know, at the same time, you know, I'm not on the Board of Education, like learning. I'm here in the trenches as, you know, a teacher, working with families, working with students every day, not really doing the whole policies that I could be better at. And, you know, I acknowledge that. That's somewhere that I could definitely learn it. That's something that I would like to learn more from everybody, regardless. So, yeah, that's something that I would like to learn on, is how to articulate. That's the word, articulate more and be a better talker instead of sounding all fast and nervous and everything like that, like I know I kind of do. Thanks.
Thank you. Tonia.
Thank you. I think we have a responsibility to remain committed to learning. I know that there are so many things that I don't know. I know that there are things that I don't know that I don't know. And this is certainly an opportunity to lean into leadership and into learning. I would actually be seeking out to the advice of the existing board regents, but also my mentors, and learning more about what are the responsibilities with regards to serving, what do I need to know about NG, what do I need to know about the systems, the universities, the colleges. I acknowledge, even with the opportunity and the privilege to be able to teach both at Nevada State College and at UNLV, and have gone through a system as a student and having supported a student as a parent, again, that there is much to learn and so much that I don't know. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to learn and to be able to utilize not only what I'm learning here and what I'm learning on other boards, but to have that inform my leadership and inform and impact the leadership of those that I share and collectively lead with.
Thank you. One more quick question. Well, it's a short question, but we'll see if the answers are quick from the audience. So we'll take it back to shared governance and the idea that faculty as well as administrators on their individual campuses are governing the institution. And then you add the layer on top of that of Chancellor, Board of Regents to govern the whole system. What would be your approach to a situation where there is a conflict around shared governance, specifically if someone is saying that a policy has not been followed, or that one party may be not quite following the agreement that was made? How would you go about learning more or figuring out what to do in that particular situation, since everyone does have the responsibility to govern, but we don't always agree on how to do that? And I believe that one will go to Tonia first.
I would acknowledge that we have a responsibility to investigate, to be able to ensure that the individual believes that there has been a challenge or a problem that presents itself around policy and or the shared governance needs to be heard. And I believe that we have a responsibility, if we are not able to do that ourselves as a collective, to enlist the support, again, the expertise and the experience of those within the community. That means bringing in a mediator to help advise us, or a consultant to help advise us, and better being able to identify the challenges that are persisting Certainly when there is a responsibility for sharing leadership or sharing governance, there will be those who will disagree. And yet, how do we center our responsibilities, our commitments to our students and to the community? And I think that we can, again, look to expertise and experience of those that could inform us and our leadership as a collective, as the Board of Regents, to be able to address the challenges that persist. And if I may, in a still a stretch for articulation, that that we have that responsibility for our students as well. As a student of color, my daughter had some significant challenges while we're celebrating the fact that she was able to graduate with her master's degree. It was a very arduous path, acknowledging that it wasn't just about the rigor of the program itself, but also about the values, the beliefs, and quite possibly violation of policy that was taking place within the college. So thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you. Aaron.
Okay, so when conflict arises and then there's shared governance, you know, you're always going to have one side saying that they're doing the right thing. Another side might say they're not doing the right thing. And there's disagreements and they argue and they fight. One party is not bigger than another party. We can't just come and say, hey, this is wrong, this is how we're doing things, because that becomes micromanaging again. So it kind of comes down to the collaboration again. It comes down to maybe getting the public oversight board. It comes down to maybe seeing how we could work together to solve these issues when it comes to that shared governance. Because perhaps what's right in one area might not be right in another area. So it almost works out better for that area to do something that they shouldn't be doing. But if everyone's communicating with each other, collaborating with each other, the issue can be solved. You know, like I was saying, I'm not for micromanaging, but it's kind of coming together and communicating and figuring out what can we do. And if we can't figure this out, let's get an oversight board, let's get a committee, and let's get more advice on what we can do to solve these issues. Because at the end of the day, education's key. And that's what we're here for, not our own personal beliefs or what we think is right, what that person thinks is wrong. It's about educating the students. And that's why we have to be able to work together. We have to communicate. We have to collaborate. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. We are at time. So at this time, I know it went by so quickly. So at this point, we are happy to have each candidate give a closing statement. Again, noting the 2 minutes, and we will go in the opposite order from how we started. So Aaron, if you would like to give your closing statement first.
All right, everyone. So thanks for having me here. It's been a pleasure. This hour went by really fast, actually. So I'm running for Regent District 4 because I've lived in this area my entire life. I'm a result of this community, District 4. I went to school here, I worked here. I've even housed the area's homeless people here with Holmes-Sutton, Nevada. These families are almost a representation of me when I see them. When I talk to them, I see my family. And that's why I'm running to represent them. I'm running to fight for the students. I'm running to fight for the families. I'm running to fight for my community because that's me, you know. And that's why I teach in this area, because this community is everything. And I want to be able to ensure my students, these families that I'm working with, are going to be set up to be successful in life. And that's kind of where higher education comes in if they choose. If they choose to go to a trade school, that's fine too. But I want my students and these families to have chances at better lives. And for me, there's nothing more rewarding than seeing a family that you've worked with for so many years. I've seen students go from like K through 5th grade or the 6th grade and grow on into the high school, and you see them get jobs, and it's like, you're like, wow, I had a result in this. And now I want to make sure that they have even better results. I want to make sure that they have access, they have affordability, they know how to sign up for college, and that these families are going to have that peace of mind that we did the right thing. You know, we came to this country, we're first generation immigrants. And now our student is here and they're making a difference. You know, we're our parents' wildest dreams. And that's something for me that's special. And that's why I'm running. And that's why I would love your endorsement and your support for Regent District 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonia.
Thank you very much. I want to again acknowledge my commitment to being a part of a difference, a part of something that is broader, and wanting to leverage my leadership, my learning, the experiences that I've had both as a state and a national education leader, specifically to inform, influence, and impact in the ways that I can education for our communities. I also want to just again acknowledge the priorities that I shared in the writings around equitable access to education, student and faculty mental health and well-being, as well as communication and collaboration. We've often struggled to share leadership, lean in collectively, and yet I'm hoping for an opportunity to be able to do so. Hoping that the learnings, the leadership, the experience and expertise that I bring as an individual will lend itself to the betterment, to the leadership of the Board of Regents. And as Aaron mentioned, right, commitment to our students, ensuring that they are centered. I think often we're having conversations around issues without centering our students. I am reminded of that as I am seeing my kindergarten students graduate from college right now, and the importance of continuing to center our students, our learners, just wherever they may be, right? Whether those are students who are transitioning from the high school or those who are coming as alternative route to licensure teachers or those who are veterans. How do we ensure that we build communities of leadership and learning at our colleges and universities? And how do we engage as a collective to ensure that we're better serving the communities at large and our state community? I too appreciate the opportunity to be here today and would greatly appreciate and welcome not only your support through this candidacy, but in the opportunity to be able to serve as a regent and serving as part of the board. I appreciate you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time. We know it's a busy time, campaign season, so any time we get is very, very valuable. The next step is that you will hear from us once all of our process has been convened, and you will hear from us at that time. Jim or Kent, I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to add before we officially end.
No, just for me, again, I'll echo what Chantel just said. We know it's very busy for you right now, and we appreciate that you took the time out to spend with us. I believe Chantel has articulated the process going forward, but Kent is deeply familiar with this process. So if there's anything more, Kent, that you'd like to add, please go ahead.
No, just thank you for being with us. I enjoyed hearing from both of you.
Absolutely.
Yes. We'll definitely share with our members who are very keen to hear from all of the candidates.
We will be posting.
Thank you.
We will be
Yes,
posting the
we will.
recording so that other members will be able to see this.
If you do have any questions in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out. You have my email address, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you have. But I will let everyone get on with their evening. I know everyone has busy lives and we have plenty to do. I have plenty of grading to get to, and we will see each other soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.